Good morning on this Wednesday, February 17th, a day we're going to call Reparations Day. We also have a special guest, a Black female food entrepreneur, Adrienne Fudge, who grew her business from 20 clients to over 200 clients. We'll talk to Adrienne Fudge in a moment. But first, let's bring on our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavez. Good morning,
Good
Dr.
morning. Good morning, Stacy, and to the
And
Black Press of America, and to all of the brothers and sisters who are listening from around the country. This is the Reparations Day, H.R. 40. There's a hearing on the Capitol sponsored by the Honorable Sheila Jackson's Lee today. And so we'll be following, breaking news. And of course, we had an exclusive with Congresswoman Barbara Lee, as well as Congresswoman Sheila Jackson, Lee. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee from Houston is really the lead sponsor of H.R. 40.
Absolutely. And before we get into that, Dr. Chavez, just a couple of news items. One, the rolling blackouts in Texas have left some 4 million residents without power in brutally cold weather. And experts and community groups say that the many marginalized communities were the first to be hit with power outages. And if history serves as a guide, they could be among the last to be reconnected. Our thoughts go out to them. We really, we know we have publishers down in Texas as well, Houston area, Dallas area, and throughout. And we certainly, our thoughts go out to them. Also in the news this morning, former President Donald Trump and attorney Rudy Giuliani are being accused of conspiring with the far-right groups, the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, to incite the January 6th insurrection in a civil lawsuit filed just yesterday in federal court by Democratic chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Benny Thompson. Benny Thompson cites a post-Civil War law that's designed to combat violence and intimidation by the Ku Klux Klan. The lawsuit filed by the Mississippi Democrat in his personal capacity is the first civil action filed against the former president related to the attack at the U.S. Capitol, and comes days after the Senate acquitted Trump in his impeachment trial. And if it proceeds, it would mean that Trump and others would be subject to discovery and depositions, potentially exposing details and evidence that weren't released during the Senate impeachment trial. So that from Benny Thompson this morning, we will be following that closely as well. But moving to Reparations Day, Dr. Chavez, we had a great interview, an exclusive interview with Texas Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who will be front and center today in these reparation hearings.
Absolutely. We really salute the leadership of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee for not only her persistence, but making sure that the new Biden-Harris administration and the new Congress of the United States takes up the issue of reparations as one of the priority concerns of the new Congress.
Yeah, and so let's get into it, Dr. Chavez, because we did speak with the Congresswoman, and first of all, everyone knows it as H.R. 40, but let's hear as she describes the actual name of this bill.
H.R. 40 is the bill number, but what is the official name of the bill?
The official name of the bill is the Commission. I'm so glad you asked that. The Commission to Study and Develop. It has been amended to strengthen it. Study and develop reparation proposals. And for anyone that thinks that this is a commission that is going to have smoke and mirrors, it's going to be a cover up. No, it's going to be an unveiling. It's going to be a taking the cover off. And the idea, the word develop, the active word develop, is a verb that says work will come out of this commission, that there will be real proposals to deal with the systemic impact of slavery, the present day impact of slavery, and to identify all of the elements that created the atmosphere of today.
Yeah, so I thought, well, certainly you felt it important that people understood the actual name of this bill, Dr. Chavez.
Yes, I think it's very important. And again, we are going to be following the hearing today. And I believe that the whole entire Congressional Caucus is signing on. One of the things that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee shared with us, that as of today, over 160 members of the Congress of the United States have already signed on to the bill.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that as well. She also, Dr. Chavez, the one thing about the Congressional Black Caucus, especially Sheila Jackson Lee, they appreciate the Black press. And she, in her hometown, there is our chair, Karen Carter Richardson. Here's what Sheila Jackson Lee, the Congresswoman, had to say about Karen Carter Richards and the Black press.
And I'm so delighted to be able to be with you this evening, Dr. Chavez. And let me be sure to give my greetings and respect to my president, if you will,
Yes.
Karen Carter, for her great leadership and for what she does. Karen Carter Richards for her great leadership and the forward times and her representation of so many great papers in our area in Houston, Texas, but also her representation of great newspapers across the nation, and I might say around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also tip our hats to our chair, Karen Carter Richards. Another point we wanted to mention too from that interview, Dr. Chavez, is how important, how urgent this bill is, I should say. And this is what Sheila Jackson Lee had to say, the Congresswoman, about why we can't wait.
We know that we're in a moment in history that captures the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. We often quote him. There are many others, Malcolm and Frederick Douglass, who talked about the need of urgency. But Dr. King wrote a book that said, Why We Can't Wait. Now more than ever, 2021, the backdrop of George Floyd, backdrop of January 6th, and the backdrop of Breonna Taylor, I could go into a long roll call of heinous acts. In that backdrop, it is clear of why we can't wait. And so I'm very gratified to be able to say that we have a vast number of members of the United States Congress who have joined as co-sponsors of HR 40 because they understand the history, the concept, and the urgency.
Yeah, Dr. Chavez, the urgency. What were your thoughts when she mentioned that?
Well, I believe that it is urgent. What has happened with COVID-19, it exposed all the pre-existing conditions in Black America, not only pre-existing health conditions, but pre-existing economic disparities, pre-existing poverty, pre-existing exposure to environmental hazards. We have people now today in Texas that don't have electricity, and disproportionate of them are brothers and sisters who live in communities that are less served, that are underserved. So there's a sense of urgency. I believe it's so urgent that HR 40, the reparations bill, be passed as soon as possible, because first thing this bill calls for is for an assessment to really study in depth the impact of 500 years of slavery, 500 years of institutionalized systemic racism, 500 years of disparities. And so these disparities, States, are passed on from generation to generation. And I join with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee just to state for the record that if there ever was a time that we can get reparations passed by the United States Congress, it is now. And not only because it's advantageous, but because it's so desperately and urgently needed.
Yeah, and that hearing begins at 11 a.m. this morning. There's several people that will testify, including Hillary Shelton of the NAACP. Also, there will be representation from NCOBRA and the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. And we will, on Friday, on this program, we will have leaders from NCOBRA and the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights to discuss this further. Sheila Jackson Lee, our great Congresswoman from Texas, also talked about the co-sponsors, the many co-sponsors and supporters. Let's take a listen.
It is clear of why we can't wait. And so I'm very gratified to be able to say that we have a vast number of members of the United States Congress who have joined as co-sponsors of HR 40 because they understand the history, the concept, and the urgency. Almost 160 from regions beyond our urban centers, rural members, members who are from the Asian, Pacific, Southeast Asian community, from the Latinx community, Anglo-Caucasian community, African American, those who are descendants of individuals who actually are Africans, meaning that they are recently from Africa and they're here in the United States. We have people with that kind of heritage supporting this legislation as well.
Yeah, and so it's more supporters than ever before, Dr. Chavez.
Yes, it's historic. And again, we're going to be following this as this bill, this important bill, works its way through the legislative process on Capitol Hill. And let me say for all of our viewers, reparations is needed not only for African Americans, but to me, what Dr. King said is so true, that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So as we get reparations for African Americans, it's going to help repair the American economy. It's going to help repair our communities in which we live and serve. So I think that as Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee has noted, the support for the bill now certainly has all 50-some members of the CBC, but it has twice that many numbers of people who are not African American, who are members of Congress, who have already signed on. So that's what's encouraging as we begin 2021 and this Black History Month of 2021 to see reparations get front and center attention, as it is certainly deserves to be.
Yeah, and along those lines, Dr. Chavez, she talked about, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee talked about a comprehensive wide net. Let's listen to that as well.
40 is a comprehensive wide net that deals with all aspects of life of the descendants of enslaved Africans.
Yeah, so she's reaching out across the ocean, as she mentioned as well, Dr. Chavez, and how important is that? Because she's not only looking for support and assist those here in America, but on the continent as well.
Well, keep in mind, we talk about the transatlantic slave trade. Even before enslaved Africans reached the shores of Virginia in 1619, the transatlantic slave trade had been going on for 100 years before then. So that's why people really don't understand the magnitude, the depth for centuries, for 5 centuries. The chattel slavery, the inhumanity, the crimes against humanity, the genocide that was done on people of African descent in Africa, in South America, in the Caribbean, and certainly here in the United States. So what this is going to be the first global comprehensive look at the transatlantic slave trade and the repercussions, and how can we repair the damage that has been done. That's what reparations stands for: repairing, healing, restoring a sense of dignity, a sense of not only value, but if you look at what has happened over 5 centuries. So it's going to take a lot even to calculate, Stacey, all of the devastation, all of the impact, and then what needs to be done going forward. So the bill also is going to talk about what needs to be done now to rectify the situation, to repair what has been done to enslaved Africans. So yes, and so I believe the African Union is going to sign on, the United Nations. There's a person from the United Nations, in fact, will be testifying at today's hearing.
Yes.
On Capitol Hill for HR 40. So it is comprehensive, and I just want to give a shout out, Stacey, publicly, that the NNPA, we're going to be completing this book that Stacey and I have been working on for several years about the transatlantic slave trade, and we're going to mention HR 40 and the interview we had exclusively with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee as part of our book.
Yeah, and one of the poignant moments in that interview, she talked about when she and John Lewis and others went to Africa in 2019. Let's listen to her talk about that and the visit to the slave castles.
One of the most potent moments, although I've been before, and so many have, was the slave castles. But you have to go in a historical moment. I think one of the reasons, of course, is our late friend, John Robert Lewis, was with us. There wasn't a dry eye there because we captured this in the essence of 400 years of the time that slaves went. But the storytellers who came with us, African storytellers, really made the visual and vivid picture of heroic individuals who did not know where they were going. They had been taken in country. They were not people who lived on the shores and had lived in country. They were taken as slaves or bartering. And there were times when they were buying gold and silver. They dropped buying gold and silver. That means these traders, they started buying slaves. Well, in the normal sense of history, slaves used to be, or tribal persons used to have various warring incidences or efforts against other tribes. And they would be taken, and then they'd be taken back, and they'd be taken and taken back. There was no sense that if you were taken, that you would ever leave your precious homeland. And so these slaves only saw where they might be going when they went through that door of no return. And they could see the ocean maybe for the first time. There were thousands of slaves that literally jumped into their watery grave. We hear that often, refusing to leave their homeland.
Yeah, wow. You could imagine the impact that had on that contingent that went to Africa in 2019, Dr. Chavez. She also mentioned too something that seems to escape people when they talk about the transatlantic slave trade. And here in America, the federal government sanctioned slavery. Let's take a listen, Dr. Chavez.
And people want to give the response that I had nothing to do with slavery. And our answer is in this document right here. What HR 40 stands for is the official recognition by the United States that sanctioned slavery, first by the purchase from the slave traders, then by the open markets, usually done in the public square, sanctioned by local government, sanctioned by the federal government, because it was not illegal. And so what this is about is not knocking on your neighbor's door and asking them for some response or repair. It is that the federal government sanctioned slavery, and therefore we ask for the federal government to respond.
Yeah, it's so important. And finally, Dr. Chavez, the impact of HR 40 in Africa. Let's take a listen to that as well.
I don't think it could do anything less than enhance the status of America in the eyes of the continent of Africa. I am a chauvinist on the continent of Africa. I'm a champion of the continent of Africa. I studied and went to school in Ghana as well as Nigeria. And I believe that Africa should be one of the United States, if not the most closest ally, the continent. It means the many different countries that are there to the United States. There is a eagerness in many of these countries, particularly with young Africans, to align themselves with a just America, with a democratic America.
Yeah, absolutely. A very powerful interview. You'll be able to see the entire interview on blackpressusa.com. Also, Dr. Chavez, the Chavez Chronicles will be capturing this as well. The Chavez Chronicles every Sunday, 11 a.m. on PBS and PBS World. Dr. Chavez, of course, is the host of that show. Dr. Chavez, what an interview.
Bob, thank you. And we want everybody to go to blackpressusa.com, go to the NMPA. You can see the entire interview, exclusive interview with the Black Press of America with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And now let's turn our attention to a woman entrepreneur, a very successful woman entrepreneur. Adrienne Fudge is the CEO of 40 Dreams Catering, a company that delivers fresh, high-quality meals straight to the homes of senior citizens and disabled adults, all for free. Good morning, Adrienne. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Tell us a little bit about your business. How did it start?
Well, 40 Dreams, I had a traditional catering company. And then in 2015, I was given an opportunity to provide meals to senior citizens after doing a talk to Omega Psi Phi fraternity on healthy eating and how food impacts the health and more specifically Black men.
Wow. And so it took off. Did you envision it taking off the way it has from 20 to 200?
Yeah. So
Very
I
good.
sort of, I planned that. So I, I started, I already had the business, but, being able to feed senior citizens was an amazing opportunity. And, once I got started in 2015, we actually had 3 clients then. I was like, there's no reason why this can't go nationwide. There's no reason why I can't grow this business. So I've been working diligently to do that, to set up things here in New Jersey, so that the business is duplicatable and I can take it nationwide.
Yeah, and you work directly with, I understand, insurance companies, caretakers, and family members to make sure that your clients are getting the right foods. Talk about the importance of that.
Right. So the way it works is that I partner with some of the insurance companies and managed care organizations, and they provide the funding for the meals. And then we work with daughters and sons and aunts and uncles to take care of their elder person, their elder loved one, and we treat them, as if they were our family, quite frankly. And that's really the basis of the business. That's, some of my competitors have large operations and they ship the food elsewhere. But my idea is to have, substations, little hubs all across the country where I can employ people in the community and I can give back to the community where we are based. And so that's really what it is. But the thing is just to really work closely with the families to make sure that the seniors are doing well.
Yeah.
Well, you're making, this is Black History Month, Sister Fudge, and
Yes,
we want to salute you because you're making Black history with your business, with your entrepreneurship. And I detect that you really care about your clients. Some people go into business just for profit, but obviously profit is important to keep a business sustainable. But as we listen to you, it appears that you're in the business to make a difference, a positive difference in the lives of senior citizens.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and as our executive administrator, Claudette Perry, says, Black women are doing phenomenal things. It is true. We have had a few on this very program, and we talk about Black History Month. And I tell you what, you guys are leading the charge. As Dr. Chavez likes to say, how do you celebrate Black history? By making more Black history, and you're doing that. What inspired you, Adrienne?
I would have to say my parents. Overall, my parents inspired me. I come from I come from a very strong family, and my parents had taught me to work hard, get my education, work hard, and pursue your dreams. And that's exactly what I did. I always wanted to go into culinary arts. I did go the traditional route with going to college and, having a great corporate career. But I still wanted to cook and I still wanted to help people. And so, that's what I do.
Speaking of the culinary arts and cooking as a career path, could you talk about a lot? I know a lot of Generation Z and millennials are watching Let It Be Known every morning. What about the opportunities to follow your path in entrepreneurship, but in the cooking space, in the culinary arts space?
Well, you know what? It's culinary arts was wide open until COVID, right? So right now it's kind of risky. It's always been very risky, but it's even more risky right now. But this will pass, and I think that there's a lot more opportunity in culinary arts right now, especially for women. Once upon a time, being a chef was primarily just for men. It's more, the industry has opened up because of, let's say, the Food Network and these different types of shows. And so I really think that it's a worthwhile career, but it's hard work and it's crazy hours. And you have to this is a situation where you really do have to love what you do in order to be successful. And you can never give up. I don't care if it's culinary arts or whatever entrepreneurial endeavor you take, you can never give up. For me, that is the key.
Yeah, I want to shout out to our publisher down in Florida, Bobby Henry, the West Side Gazette, Celeste Hart, Michelle Whitty, James Wright of the Washington Informer, Okina Jenkins is watching Dr. Chavez, our very own, and Don Wagner and others, Paul Murray. We appreciate all of you. Adrienne, so you mentioned the pandemic. Now we're in 2021, another year. What do you envision going forward with 40 Dreams?
Well, we are growing, actually. Seniors need to eat and the seniors need to stay home. So we are actually growing because we bring the meals directly to the home. And our growth, is one of the things that I find that entrepreneurs, especially Black entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs of color, don't have are resources. We don't have the resources. We don't have a team of people that can help us. We don't have, an uncle that we can go to that was an entrepreneur and tell us exactly how to do things. So there's this wonderful organization called the Women of Color Connecting that was founded by Jill Johnson, and she actually provides us that support. So that helps me to grow. I don't know that I would be able to grow as quickly as I'm growing and do the things that I'm doing if I didn't have that. She's put a team of people, a team of experts around me in order to grow my business. And so I would be remiss, and she would be pretty annoyed with me had I not mentioned the fact that that organization has really just been a source of.
Adrienne, give out the name of that organization again so that our listeners can pick that up and they may want to be in touch with that group also.
Yes, so it's the Women of Color Connecting, and that's WOCCON as in Nancy.com. I'm sorry, .org. So it's WOCCON.org. And it's just an amazing organization. We're having a summit come up. I do encourage people to go to the summit. Because it's a life-changing experience for any entrepreneur.
Yeah, one of our publishers, again, Bobby Henry down at the West Side Gazette, is asking, how can all of the Black press publishers purchase meals for seniors?
So in the next few months, we will be rolling out private delivery meals. Right now, we're working primarily with the managed care organizations. But they can certainly take a look at my website and get in touch with us there. It's 40D as in dog, REAM as in Mary S, 40dreams.com. And that's where they can inquire or find out, give us more information, and we will get back to them as soon as possible. 40dreams.com. Yes.
So Adrienne, how did you come up with that name? I love that name, 40dreams.com. Give us what's the background of the name?
Well, there are actually two backgrounds. So the main reason is that I always wanted to go to culinary school, as I said. And when I turned 40, I went to culinary school. So that it was like a dream of mine. The other reason is from a spiritual perspective. The number 40 is is an awakening. You go through trials and tribulations, and then you come to a realization. So that's what the name encapsulates.
40 Dreams. 40 yes. Dreams, Adrienne Fudge. Dr. Chavez, final thoughts?
Well, I want Adrienne to give out her website one more time, and then we're going to follow this. We salute you for the progress that you've made, and certainly life re-began at 40 for you as you started your new business and 40 Dreams, helping senior citizens get nutritious and quality meals. I think it's a great model, and I hope that your business will spread across the United States and even internationally. I think the sky's the limit. What you are proving is that you can do good and be well at the same time.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, Adrienne. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say the website address is 40dreams.com, and that's where they can reach me.
40dreams.com. Our Black History Month remembrance today is Willie Hastie, the first African-American federal and appellate judge. Willie Hastie led a distinguished private law career before being appointed as the United States District Court for the Virgin Islands by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1937. Hastie worked for 2 years as a federal judge before becoming a law educator at Howard University School of Law, where he taught the soon-to-be famous Thurgood Marshall. Hastie would later be appointed as an appellate judge by Harry Truman and serve in appeals court for 22 years. Black History Month remembrance is Willie Hastie. Let it be known. Remember that the happiest people are not those getting more, but those giving more. We will see you tomorrow.